What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts on the side. Joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of this guys, Mr. Tad the Side. And Tad, it's been a little time since we've had our last episode till now. Two reasons. One, the next coach that we're talking about in today's episode, there's a lot to get into.
Yes, there is.
Story. So yeah, there's a reason why maybe it took a little bit of time to compile all that. So that's one reason. But the other reason, I'll let you speak about that one.
Essentially, I have the back of someone who belongs in a retirement home. And so I've been dealing with a lot of back issues, a lot of doctor appointments and stuff like that. So for our listeners and viewers who have been like, where the hell have they been? My bad, totally my bad. I am hopefully getting better. So I will, keep you guys all updated. But yes, if there are any extended breaks in the near future, the back is probably why. It's just, it's really sore from carrying this podcast.
Yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason. No, I was actually thinking about, remember that episode we did a while back where you were Batman and we're going through your rogues gallery of different people.
And then let me guess, you're thinking like Bane, like
no, exactly. You're post-fight with Bane. This is your situation now, so you're trying to come back from it.
Exactly,
so
and you're my Robin, where I'm like, can you be Batman for just 3 weeks?
No, I'm off to Bloodhaven to be Nightwing. That's what's happening.
Attaboy. Nightwing has always been cooler, so good call.
Oh gosh, but yeah, so wishing you all the best, buddy. Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate it.
I don't envy anything that's going on with you, but
yeah,
as I said in text before, I was like, as soon as you turn 30, it's going to be a different life for you. So you should have been prepping before you turn 30.
Dear Lord, back surgery is already in play, and I'm only 30. Like, what the hell?
I just love the casual text that you sent me too. That's like, yeah, when you wake up in the morning, do you have shooting pain in your back? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, no. That I was asking my friends. I was like, so showers aren't painful for you guys? And they're like, no.
I just love how casual you are with it. I was like, no, that is not normal.
It was shocking to me. I'm so used to waking up with just shooting sharp back pain that I was just like, yeah. And then finally people were like, not normal. And I was like, oh, guys, probably start seeing some doctors.
100%. But yes, wish you all the best in your recovery. Hopefully it's not anything too serious and you'll be on the mend pretty soon here.
That's okay. But it's just my spinal cord. Nothing wrong.
But like I said, today's head coach that we're talking about has a very vast.
Speaking of back problems,
did he have back problems?
He has to at this point.
I don't know.
That's a lot of standing on the. That's a lot of standing on the sidelines.
He seems pretty spry for his age still. We're going to get into all that in today's episode. But in case you couldn't figure it out through the context clues here, we're talking about Pete Carroll, the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, which also sounds kind of interesting too, because you associated with the Seattle Seahawks for the longest time, but there's a little bit of a interesting situation that happened towards the end of his, tenure with the Seahawks. That's why he's now with the Las Vegas Raiders, but we'll get into all of that. But as mentioned, it is a very long history that we're going to get into. I took notes on this. I asked Tad to can we cut this down at any bit? He's like, no,
yeah,
I don't think we
impossible. It's impossible. There's nothing because here's the problem is as I was looking at all your notes, they all had very interesting points.
It's true.
So I was like, okay, maybe we can cut this down. And I was like, shit, no, can't cut that down. So anyway, all right. So here's what we're going to do. You ready?
I think really quick before you get into all of that, I think even in my self-edit, before I sent it to you, I think literally there's one bullet point that I cut out of all the bullet points that I have. And I was like, I don't know if I can cut anything else. I was like, this is the only one that I can think of.
Because every step of his career has something interesting to note about it.
There's some relevancy to everything.
It is truly insane. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Just to limit ourselves, we're gonna kneecap ourselves here.
We're gonna try. We're gonna
yes.
try.
Well, yeah. A for effort.
If this episode goes long, there's a good reason because there's a lot.
And for once, it will not be my fault.
That is true. That is true.
All right. So I have a timer for 5 minutes and 30 seconds. You have 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go through his entire history. After that, we're gonna cut it off and we're just gonna move on. Are you ready?
All right. We'll see how this goes.
All right. 5 minutes and 30 seconds starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so he started his playing career attending the junior college in the College of Marin. He played the safety position mainly. Carroll intercepted 12 passes over the course of 2 years playing at the College of Marin. He then transferred to the University of Pacific to play safety there as well. He earned all Pacific Coast Athletic Association in both years playing for the University of Pacific Tigers, in case you're curious what the mascot was there. After his college career concluded, he tried out for the Honolulu Hawaiians of the World Football League, but failed to make the roster due to his size. Also dealing with some shoulder injuries playing in the safety position in his college career. With his playing career pretty much over now, he caught the eye of new head coach at the University of Pacific, Chester Caddis. Caddis brought Carroll on to be a graduate assistant, where he helped to work with the wide receivers as well as the defensive backs for the next 3 years. Was on the coaching staff with a lot of future successful college coaches, including Greg Robinson, Jim Coletto, Walt Harris, Ted Leland, and Bob Cope. Bob Cope being the most significant one there because in 1977, Carroll was recruited by his former colleague Bob Cope to join Lou Holtz, his famous coaching staff at the University of Arkansas. Carroll worked with the secondary under Cope and was under the late Monty Kiffin's defensive coaching staff with the University of Arkansas. Rest in peace, my friend there. Houston Nutt, also very famous college coach as well, was the backup quarterback of that 1977 Razorbacks team. In 1978, Carroll left the University of Arkansas to go to Iowa State University as an assistant working under Earl Bruce. Bruce then left Iowa State in 1979 to join the Ohio State University, recruited Carroll to join the secondary there. Ohio State made the Rose Bowl that year, but unfortunately lost to an eventual employer of his, USC. The Buckeyes allowed only 10.5 points per game that year, which included back-to-back shutouts in the regular season. Carroll then got his first defensive coordinator position with the North Carolina State Wolfpack in 1980, held that job for 3 seasons, was head coach of that team. Another former colleague of his, Monty Kiffin, was the head coach of the North Carolina State Wolfpack there in 1980. Carroll then returned to the University of Pacific as a defensive coordinator and assistant head coach in 1983 under former colleague again, Bob Cope. His name surfaced again. He was the head coach there at the University of Pacific. 1984, Carroll makes the jump to the NFL. He joined the Buffalo Bills coaching staff as a defensive backs coach. After one season, Carroll joined the Minnesota Vikings coaching staff as a defensive backs coach from 1985 to 1989. During the 1987 season, the Vikings had the 4th most interceptions in the NFL. The following season, in 1988, the Vikings allowed the 2nd fewest passing yards in the NFL, the 2nd lowest completion percentage, and had the most interceptions in the league. His final season in Minnesota in 1989, the Vikings allowed the fewest passing yards in the league and the 5th lowest completion percentage as well. Due to his success that he had with the Vikings, he moved on to the New York Jets as a defensive coordinator with that team from 1990 to 1993. He was on Bruce Coslet's coaching staff. He was former roommates with his older brother, Pete Carroll's older brother. So that's how he's able to sort of get a little bit of that nepotism thing there to get that job with the Jets. In his 4 seasons as defensive coordinator, the Jets ranked in the top 10 in fewest points allowed twice during those 4-year span. Also ranked in the top 10 in turnovers forced on defense, which included back-to-back top 5 finishes in 1992 and 1993. He found success once again, which led to him getting promoted to the head coaching position of the New York Jets in 1994. Started the season 6-5 before falling victim to Dan Marino's then famous clock play, Tad. I don't know if you remember this game.
Oh, yeah, no, it was the fake spike, right?
He had the fake spike, ended up throwing a touchdown with that. That unfortunately led to a lot of bad success for the New York Jets. Finished the season without a win, which resulted in a 6-10 record and being let go from his position. San Francisco 49ers, saw some promise in him, though, and they hired him to be their new defensive coordinator for the 1995 and 1996 seasons. Both seasons, the Niners finished top 10 in fewest points allowed, as well as fewest total yards allowed, as well as the most turnovers forced on defense. Very impressive defense both of those years. His success with San Francisco led to him getting another head coaching job with the New England Patriots, this time in 1997. Carroll won the AFC East in his first year as head coach, but he lost the AFC divisional round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The next season, 1998, Patriots failed to make the playoffs. They also failed to win the division for a third straight season after that. New England lost in the first round of the playoffs, this time to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they were still an expansive franchise. Very good right out of the gate there. Carroll coached the Patriots for one more season, 1999. Failed to make the playoffs again with an 8-8 record. He was fired at the conclusion of the season. New owner at the time, Robert Kraft, said it was one of the toughest decisions he had to make that early in his ownership. A quote that he said, a lot of things were going on that made it difficult for him to stay, some of which were out of his control, Kraft said, and it began with following a legend. That legend was Bill Parcells. Carroll ended up taking a year off from the NFL and coaching, and he was hired by USC, where he made a name for himself with the USC Trojans. This is a funny thing here, though, Tad. He was their fourth choice as head coach because USC at the time was initially pursuing then Oregon State head coach Dennis Erickson, former Niners coach as well, Oregon coach Mike Bellotti, and San Diego Chargers coach Mike Riley of Oregon State fame as well. The USC athletic department received 2,500 emails, faxes, and phone calls from alumni, mostly critical of the hiring of Pete Carroll to be their new head coach. A lot of donors were threatening to remove their donation from USC as donation boosters or whatever. So yeah, a lot of people were not happy with that hire there in USC. Really quickly, let's go through everything that he did at USC. We're not going to go year by year, but just looking at the overall accomplishments. 2 BCS championship game appearances, 2005 win over Oklahoma, the famous 2006 loss against the Texas Longhorns, Associated Press 2003 national championship, Associated Press 2004 national championship, 7 consecutive AP top 4 finishes, 6 BCS bowl victories, 7 consecutive BCS bowl appearances, a national record 33 consecutive weeks as the Associated Press #1 ranked team, a winning record of 97-19. That is an 83.6 winning percentage, a winning record of 14-2 against traditional rivals Notre Dame and UCLA, an NCAA record of 63 straight 20-point games, 25 first-team All-Americans, 53 players selected the NFL draft, including 14 in the first round, 3 Heisman Trophy winners, Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, and Reggie Bush, and 4 top 5 recruiting classes. So, I mean, this guy had a very impressive run at the University of Southern California.
It's like playing CFB on rookie mode, where you're just landing 5-star after 5-star. Like, this is easy as shit. Like, this is great.
Yeah, it was amazing, the success that he had at the University of USC. The NFL tried to recruit him back as the Seattle Seahawks hired him as the new head coach in 2010, replacing Jim Mora Jr., was also named the executive vice president of football operations, a job originally planned for Frank Grimes, but he was given the job instead, effectively making him the general manager as well. Even though officially John Schneider was the GM of the team, Pete Carroll had final say as far as all draft and personnel decisions. He had that sort of control there. Now we have to get into a Seattle career here, Tad. This is where it could go a little bit long, too. In his first season with the Seattle Seahawks, Carroll led the Seahawks to win the NFC West with a 7-9 record. First time in NFL history, followed it up with an upset victory over the reigning Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints behind the very famous Marshawn Lynch Beastquake run. They got that upset win that sort of cemented the fact that's like, even if you have a losing record, you can still make the playoffs. There's a lot of people there arguing the fact that should a team with a losing record make the playoffs? They did.
Not even just make the playoffs, but have home advantage. Because
exactly, that's a big thing too.
They won the division.
So I think that victory possibly silenced a few of the critics there. After failing to make the playoffs in the following season in 2011 with another 7-9 record, Carroll led the team to a solid string of success the franchise has never experienced. From 2012 to 2020, the Seahawks never finished lower than second in the NFC West. They only had one season in 2017 without double-digit wins or making the playoffs. This includes 3 division crowns and tying a franchise record in wins with 13 during the 2013 season. That 2013 season, Tad, they saw them get to the Super Bowl and also have a very impressive blowout victory over the Denver Broncos. They made the Super Bowl in 2014 as well, but lost the game on a controversial pass play on the 1-yard line against the New England Patriots, even after a very impressive play to get them within scoring range with that, very famous, sideline catch that they held on or whatever right there.
Here's the thing, though, is like,
I think Jermaine Kearse was the receiver on that play too. Yeah.
It's not like they had a good running back to hand it off to. Like, I think that play is overhated because I mean, who are you going to give the ball to that, could possibly push it for 2 entire yards? I mean, it's an overhated decision.
Yeah. Can't trust Thomas Rawls, right? I'm not really sure if he was on that roster.
I don't know either, but that is a great.
I had to double check that one.
That is amazing.
But the biggest thing here, Tad, he was instrumental in building one of the most stifling defenses the NFL has ever seen. The Legion of Boom, led by the likes of Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor in the secondary. You got Bobby Wagner in the middle of the field. You also have very prolific pass rusher Michael Bennett coming off the edge. Yep. You also have the very lucky emergence, because we talked about this on the podcast before. They signed Matt Flynn to that massive contract, but the emergence of rookie Russell Wilson in his rookie year.
We always talk about how Brock Purdy bailed out the 49ers. Like, Russ Wilson really bailed out that Seahawks team.
Russ Wilson was the originator of the bailout.
Yes, yeah, he was the original Brock Purdy.
But as a starting quarterback, and then obviously trading for Marshawn Lynch from the Buffalo Bills, made this offense play in conjunction with that very stout defense. So this team was the complete package. You could see why they had that huge success. While Carroll found a lot of success as a head coach, Tad, though, he never returned to the NFC Championship round again since those back-to-back Super Bowl appearances in 2013 and 2014. Carroll eventually was fired from the team at the end of the 2023 season. He moved up to an advisory role. Cost-cutting measures, though, I think, with an aging roster, led to his firing and the Seahawks wanting to move into another direction. Carroll finished his tenure as head coach for the Seahawks with a 137-89-1 record in 227 regular season games, along with an 11-11 postseason record in 22 games, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl victory. And now Pete Carroll will be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders at the age of 73, which makes him the oldest head coach in the NFL. I'm pretty sure I went way over the 5.5 mark, but I got through everything.
That is impressive. If it helps, you only went over the 5-minute mark by 7 minutes, which honestly is not bad. That's not bad.
I went over by 7 minutes, or my total was 7 minutes?
Oh, God, your total was not 7 minutes.
Okay.
No. So, yeah, your total was 12 minutes.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Honestly,
there's a lot to get into there.
I was about to say, pretty impressive. I'm impressed. Yes, so not much to add to his background. However, I do have some Pete Carroll fun facts.
All right, let's hear it.
He is only one of 4 NFL coaches to coach both a Super Bowl and a national title game. Can you name the other 3 coaches?
Coach in both a Super Bowl as well as a national title game.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And this is historically. This isn't like current. Yeah.
Got it.
One of them should be easy.
Honestly, though, it's like I don't know much about like coaching history when it comes to college football. Like, I mean, obviously, I know some of the more prominent coaches, but we all know the success or lack of success both Nick Saban and Urban Meyer had, even though they both went to national championship games in college.
And they crapped out in the NFL. So
exactly.
I will tell you right now, it's both of them are off this list.
I know that, but just like so, those like I can only think of those more recent prominent head coaches. I can't think of guys from the past that have been, just as good. So, I mean, like, yeah, I'm going to struggle with this one. Like, I mean,
one of them is a current coach in the NFL.
A current coach. Oh, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's one. So you got 2 more.
That was probably the easy one, right? The other 2, exactly. I probably have no idea.
The other 2 are historical. 90s, if I'm getting my years right.
90s for NFL or 90s for college?
Both. For both, I think. Definitely 90s for NFL. I'm not entirely sure with college. I think one might have been an 80s college coach.
Because Bill Parcells was never a big college coach.
Yeah, Parcells is not.
Same thing with Bill Belichick, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mike Ditka, but I don't think he was a college coach either. Yeah. I don't know. Joe Gibbs?
Nope.
No.
Joe Gibbs was a psychopath, though.
Yeah.
He would have his family record their family dinners so he could listen to it in the office. That is psychopathic behavior.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, no, Joe Gibbs is psycho, but not on the list.
Yeah, I don't want to keep guessing because I really have no idea.
Barry Switzer.
Oh, okay, of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, you ready for this one? Because it's another Dallas Cowboys coach.
Is it? I'm guessing it's not Tom Landry, is it?
It's not.
Okay.
It's Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson with the U. Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
So
I probably could have guessed these if I thought about it for a while.
So
but
Barry Switzer, Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, Jim Harbaugh, and Pete Carroll are the only 4 coaches to coach both a Super Bowl and a national title.
Just coach, but not win.
Just coach, yeah, not win it. So
I know, unfortunately, Harbaugh lost in the Super Bowl. So
this is crazy. Do you want to know who Pete Carroll? So as you mentioned, Pete Carroll was the head coach of the New York Jets for a while. That was his first head coaching gig. Do you know who Pete Carroll's first draft pick was as the New York Jets head coach?
He got the job in. Let's go back to my notes because
I think it was
very
like
copious notes on this one.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was like 93. If I have that year correct.
He was hired in 94.
94. Okay, so close enough. So do you want?
I guess it would be like the 95 draft, right?
Something like that,
technically, because he was hired in 94, so the draft would be in 95, I think. But it was before the year that they had the 3 first-round picks with Abraham, Pennington, and Corbett.
Oh no, that was in 2000. That was in 2000. Yeah, that was way later. That was 5 years later.
Is it Keyshawn?
It is not. It is Pete Carroll's first ever draft pick as a head coach is current Jets coach Aaron Glenn.
Wow, there you go. Okay, that's a nice tie-in there. I like it.
How about that? And by the way, hell of a pick. Good pick. Yeah.
We'll get to it later in the series.
Oh, yeah. And this is one of my favorite things. So everything I was like doing research with Pete Carroll was like, oh, he's a player's coach and blah, blah, blah. And I love this because this story popped up like more than often during my research is, and this is why the Seahawks players apparently like loved him. Well, one of the reasons is the nutritionist with the Seattle Seahawks got rid of the sugary cereal. So I'm guessing like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Fruit Loops, all that crap. They got rid of that in the cafeteria, and the players were like, this is bullshit. Like, we want that cereal back. And so Pete Carroll, after in a team meeting, when he was told that, went upstairs, like directly upstairs and said, put back that cereal. Otherwise I'm gone. And so he got the sugary cereal back. And KJ Wright, the linebacker out of Mississippi State, said, he was like, that just shows you what kind of coach Pete Carroll is. I'm like, yeah, you get your sugary cereal, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, why not? If you have a coach that's willing to fight for things like that to make sure that the team morale is high and people are competing at their best, it's like, why not?
Hey, man, I want my Fruit Loops, so I'm not gonna lie. don't touch my Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Fruity Pebbles, all of that, man. Yeah, man. I get it.
Fruity Pebbles. Was it Cocoa Puffs? I can go
Cocoa Puffs. There you go.
Oh, Reese's Puffs. I could go for those. Oh, damn it, now I'm hungry.
But yeah, that is his expansive history. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that I selectively chose to leave out as well. Just taking the notes. I read off everything in my notes. So, I mean, that is the true fact. But it's like, as I was taking notes, I'm pretty sure there's things I probably could have dived into a little bit further. Obviously, we didn't touch on all the USC scandal stuff that happened. And it was kind of at that tumultuous time where it's like he was leaving to come to the Seattle Seahawks. And so it's like he was also, involved with all that USC stuff as well. So it's just like, what was sort of going on there? Is that the reason why he ended up leaving to take the job with Seattle? But it's like, yeah, we decided to not touch that. That was sort of a situation where it's like we left it to, I was going to leave it to Tad to sort of take over there. But yeah, I think just with all the notes that was taken, I think it just made a lot more sense to just move past that. So yeah, very expansive coaching history for sure. But yeah, let's definitely now dive into his coaching style. Like, I mean, the nice thing with having a coach that is coached this long, we have an idea of what he likes to do with the offense, not just out of college, but it's like you can see it at the NFL level too, where he's coached the Seahawks for over a decade. We have an idea of what he likes to do on offense. So Tad, I know I went on 12, 13 minutes or whatever talking about Pete Carroll. I'll let you sort of take the first crack as far as what we could expect the offense that we're going to see with Las Vegas Raiders.
All right. Well, so here's your second surprise quiz of the show. So
Okay.
In 9 of the 13 years that Seattle was under Pete Carroll's control, they were top 5 in rushing attempts in the entire NFL. They had 3 1,000-yard rushers. Can you name all 3 1,000-yard rushers that Seattle had under Pete Carroll?
Well, one's the easy one, Marshawn Lynch.
Of course, yep.
The other one is Kenneth Walker III.
You are correct.
The third one, that is probably, I'm pretty sure, the tricky one.
Yeah.
Because it's 2012 to 2023. Joked about Thomas Rawls, but he had some good seasons with them. I don't think he ever got to 1,000 yards for sure.
I will tell you it's not him.
I know Justin Forsett, when he signed with Baltimore,
that's a good throwback.
He had 1,000 yards with Baltimore. I know that, but I don't know whether he ever got 1,000 yards with Seattle, which led to him obviously getting signed by Baltimore to obviously be a running back with them. So he's a possibility for me. Charbonnet just never gets enough carries, so I don't think he's in the conversation. Even that one year that Kenneth Walker III got hurt. Marshawn Lynch has been with the team for a long time, so it's like I can't even think of
Marshawn Lynch got to 1,000 yards like several times with them.
Yeah, so it's like I don't even know who the running back was before Marshawn Lynch. So it's like
it was not him. Marshawn Lynch was the first 1,000-yard rusher under Pete Carroll. So it was
okay, got it. Okay, so it's people after Marshawn Lynch then essentially.
Yeah.
So okay. Trying to think just who else they signed. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with Justin Forsett because I can't think of anybody else that had success in this offense outside of him. Obviously, like I said, brought up Kenneth Walker III. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with that.
You are incorrect. So it was Marshawn Lynch, Kenneth Walker, and Chris Carson.
All right, 7th rounder Chris Carson.
Carson had a 1,000-yard season under Pete Carroll. But bottom line being is Pete Carroll loves to run the ball. But I actually don't want to talk that much about Pete Carroll. Okay. I want to talk more about their offensive coordinator, who is... Do you not know?
I don't know. Who is their offensive coordinator?
You ready for this? Chip Kelly is the Raiders.
Offensive they did hire him. I totally forgot about that. Yes.
So let's talk about Chip Kelly. So first thing I noticed when I was looking at, and look, he has an expansive NFL and college history. I decided not to really look at his Oregon stuff. I'm going to dive a little bit into his Eagle history, but mostly I was actually looking at his Ohio State tape. And the one thing that struck me with his Ohio State tape was he actually runs an outside zone run scheme, which for those of you who are like, what in the hell does that mean? That essentially means that your offensive linemen, they block a certain point of the field. They don't block a certain person. So it's not like in Madden when you're like, you see that little line. It's like, okay, so you've got the defensive tackle. It's more like they drop back. And the reason for that is it's more simplified. It's easier for your offensive lineman, which is really good news for Vegas because their offensive line still needs a lot of work. So that is a very, very good, like kind of simplified offensive system to work around. Now, like I said, I was going to dive into his Eagles stuff. The Eagle from 2013, 2015, when he was the Eagles head coach, they averaged 26.9 points per game, which was 3rd in the NFL, and 5.7 yards per play, which was 6th in the NFL. So actually their offense was pretty solid under him. Now, this is the interesting thing. So last year was his first year as the Ohio State offensive coordinator. Now I'm going to throw a lot of stats at you. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay. So in 2023, Ohio State point per game, 30.5, which was 45th.
Okay. Top 15. Not bad.
It's still not great.
Yeah.
Last year in 2024, 35.7, tied for 12th.
There you go. That's a big improvement.
They jumped up almost 30 spots.
Mm-hmm.
Yards per play, 6.3 in 2023, which was tied for 25th.
Not bad. Not bad.
6.9 last year, which was 3rd.
There you go. That's a big jump.
Yards per pass, 8.7, which was 16th. Now, 9.2, which was 4th.
There you go.
This one's insane. You ready for this?
Okay.
4.1 yards per rush. That was 79th overall in 2023. In 2024, it was 4.9, 29th overall. So they jumped almost 70 spots.
Yeah, that's a great jump there for sure.
4th down conversion rate, from 55% to 71%. So that's 56 to 11th. And then red zone touchdown rate, 64% in 2023 to 75% in 2024. So clearly this Ohio State offense massively improved under his offense. Now, here's the other interesting thing I found from watching their tape and also doing some research. So when he was a head coach at Oregon, Chip Kelly ran an average of 81 offensive plays per game. When he was not head coach, but when he was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, he ran an average of 61 plays per game, offensive plays per game. So that has shown that, like, yes, while his no huddle thing works, in the 2000s at Oregon, clearly he learned from his time in Philadelphia, like, yeah, people adapted to that. And now he's definitely more of like a no huddle or, like he's more of a patient coach, which I think is really, really crucial. And another thing that I also noticed is, so like I said before, he usually runs the outside zone run scheme. However, he changed that to a man-to-man scheme in the playoffs after they lost to Michigan, because Michigan totally tore them apart with Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. They absolutely ripped it apart. So he kind of like recognized, okay, that's a weakness. And also they suffered 2 big injuries on the offensive line. So he kind of recognized, like, okay, yeah, this scheme isn't going to work. So for the playoffs, where, remember, they went on I guess, quote unquote, miraculous run. If you're an Ohio State fan, it's not miraculous. You're Ohio State. Shut up. But anyway, but the run where they won the national title is he actually changed up the scheme of the running game. And the running game is a big reason why they won the national title. So that shows his ability to kind of, adapt to the personnel. And this actually shows, kind of the balance he has with the running game. So Quinshon Judkins had 111 gap runs and 82 zone runs, while Travion Henderson had 77 gap runs and 64 zone runs. So he runs a very, very balanced offense here. So basically all of this is to say that I'm actually I'm pretty impressed with the progression or the, ability of Chip Kelly to adapt to, because a lot of coaches are just like, no, my way or the highway. And Chip Kelly kind of was like, okay, yeah, that Philadelphia thing was a total train wreck and let's learn from it. And he clearly has. So I think this is a great hire. And another interesting thing I saw from the Ohio State tape I watched is they are very heavy on RPO, where the quarterback needs to make a decision like that. Like, you got to decide. And I think, and that makes a lot of sense why they traded for Geno Smith rather than go for a rookie. Because a rookie with RPO in the NFL, that's a high risk type of thing to do. You can destroy his confidence. You don't know about his decision making. With Geno Smith, who, by the way, averaged 15 points in 2 years under Pete Carroll, and then 17 points under his last year under Pete Carroll. So you already know Geno Smith is going to be an interesting fantasy prospect. I think that's why they went for the more experienced, more veteran quarterback. But I think Chip Kelly it's a very interesting hire. And I think, especially with the addition of Ashton Jeanty, this could be a very, and with Raheem Mostert as well, this offense honestly could surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I think you sort of hit the nail on the head there is just his adaptability. Because, I remember when he got hired by Philadelphia, there's a lot of optimism in that first year. They made the playoffs. I think they had 10 wins in that year as well.
How much do you think Chip Kelly hates Vince Young for the Dream Team thing? He must hate him for that.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for him. But I think he learned that style of offense, A, obviously it didn't work out long term, but B, it wasn't successful with the NFL. Because I remember the biggest thing that I noticed was that in college, your rosters on game day are close to you could rotate in at least 60, like 65 different players, right, at a given time. Whereas the NFL, you're cutting that down by at least 10. You have 52, 53 man rosters. And so it's like your rotation, especially on offense, just, you can't run, what'd you say, 81 plays per game? You can't do that.
80, so he averaged 81 offensive plays at Oregon as a head coach.
Yeah, so it's like you can't do that in the NFL. I mean, you just don't have the massive roster to sort of have that constant substitution and keep your players fresh and be able to sort of take advantage of, slow, fatigued defenses. So it's like, yeah, there's a reason why you found success that first year. But after that, it was like, nope, I think it's just the rotation didn't help. Defenses, like you said, caught on, whatever it was. It's just like, yeah, but just like, I'm glad that he sort of was able to make that adaptation. And yeah, I think that's going to help him long term, especially in his coaching career now.
You also know what doesn't help in offense? Trading LaShawn McCoy. Oh do you remember who they traded him for?
Kiko Alonso.
Alonso. You're absolutely right.
I remember that.
They traded LaShawn McCoy for Kiko Alonso.
Because the biggest thing is just like people are like, oh, is he trading for all his Oregon guys? Because Kiko Alonso went to Oregon. So it's just like, oh, is this what's happening now?
It's like the Knicks of Villanova. Like you're just like
gosh, yeah. No, I remember that. I remember that trade distinctly. I was like,
really? And I'm also
trade like one of the premier running backs in the league at the time for Kiko Alonso.
If I'm not mistaken, they also gave them a first rounder in that trade too. If I'm not mistaken, but
I don't think they gave up. They gave up some draft capital. I don't think it was a first rounder. God. I don't think it was a first rounder, but
still, just hilarious. My God, you go from Brian Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy, and God knows who was after that. Was it DeMarco Murray? I think it was DeMarco. I think it was DeMarco Murray. I think they went from LaShawn McCoy to DeMarco Murray.
That might be the case. Yeah, because I know they cited to a massive deal after he didn't want to get paid in Dallas or whatever it was, right? So,
all right, you talk. I'm gonna look it up.
It did work out in Philadelphia for DeMarco Murray. That's the safe thing to say there. Honestly, there's not much to add to what you had to say there. I mean, I think just the biggest thing, just going to Pete Carroll now, is like you look at his time in Seattle. We sort of already talked about this, where he said 9 out of the 13 years that he was the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, they led the league in rushing. And so it's like, yeah, you look at the offensive strategy. I think they're going to have that balanced approach. They're going to try and build up that offensive line. Hopefully, over the course of the next couple of years, I think they're going to work with what they have now. Power running game. You will see that sort of zone scheme running game that I think we'll see here, which should sort of ease things up on that offensive line like you saw there. But I mean, yeah, I think we're also going to see, hence to why they drafted Ashton Jeanty with the number 6 overall pick, is like Pete Carroll likes to use a bell cow running back. He's not a very rotational type of guy. I think just every so often bringing that change of pace. But it's like there's a reason, like you were talking about, where it's like Marshawn Lynch dominated for such a big stretch during his time in Seattle, is because Carroll just liked to rely on just that one running back. And then, the times where, Lynch was injured or whatever it was, then we saw some other guys emerge, which is like overall, he likes to rely on a bell cow running back. So yeah, that's big things for the running game there. Hence why they took Ashton Jeanty 6 overall. Balanced attack. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's another reason why they trade for Geno Smith. I think they want to obviously build this offense through the run. I think Geno Smith can perfectly supplement that offense, right? He's not going to be that type of guy that's like, unfortunately, if the pressure was on and you sort of need Geno Smith to sort of make some plays. I think he showed some flashes, but unfortunately, he started to sort of take some steps back. So it's like, I don't know if he's a guy that you can rely on there. But if you can get ahead and sort of play a little bit of tempo game and control the clock, it's like Geno Smith's the perfect type of quarterback that you want for that, where it's like you lean on the running game and then you give Geno Smith a few opportunities to sort of make some plays. I think he could do that there with the Las Vegas Raiders. Mobile quarterback utilization. So it's like, obviously we talked about the emergence of Russell Wilson in that Seattle offense. I can very much see Geno Smith sort of taking some shades of that, where it's like, you got some bootleg plays, you got some opportunities to get out there and have the quarterback run with the ball in his hands, extend plays with his legs, and sort of just be a, like I said, a mobile quarterback. So it's like, make plays on the run, be sort of that facilitator to extend plays and just not let a play die, and just, let the defense sort of forget a wide receiver. And then that's how Seattle at the time got so many big chunk plays. It's just like Russell Wilson was just able to scramble out of the way, extend the play as long as he could, and he found an open receiver. They got some big chunk plays to move the chain down the field there. Yeah, I think there's anything else that I can sort of add on to there. I think we could also see some downfield passing. Like I said, establishing that run, really leaning into that run, going with the run-heavy offense. I think every so often when they pull it back and they throw it deep, I think there's going to be some good opportunities for this Raiders offense to get some explosive plays, some big chunk plays through the air with some big air-down attacks, possibly some home run touchdown plays as well. But yeah, I think I like what I see with the direction that the Raiders are going. I think it's still going to take a little bit of time. I think, with Chip Kelly making the right moves as well, changing his offensive philosophy, I think him and Pete Carroll are going to work really well together and really big, a solid offense that, I think fantasy managers can really look to the Raiders now and be like, okay, there's a lot of guys in this office that I can trust now. And, they won't have to look at it and be like, I don't know if I want to draft anybody for the Raiders. I think there's still some productive guys that would get drafted there. I saw you chuckling along there. I think you probably have some interesting stats for me.
So great. All right. So do you want to guess who the Eagles leading rusher was in 2015?
2015?
Yep.
Was it Westbrook?
It was DeMarco Murray.
It was DeMarco
so
Murray.
I was correct. Here's where I started chuckling. Guess who they're I don't even know he's an Eagle. Guess who their leading rusher was in 2016?
16. Was it Jay Ajayi? No. Oh gosh.
Oh my god. I totally forgot this guy existed. Oh god. Oh, it's Ryan Matthews.
Oh my gosh, Ryan Matthews with only one T in his last name too. That was the weird thing too.
All right, you want to guess who it was in 2017?
That was Jay Ajayi.
That was Jay.
Yeah, because that was a Super Bowl year.
You are correct. Yes, you are correct. Oh god. All right. 20. All right, hold on. Let me look this up real quick. 2018 was also Jay Ajayi. 2019.
19 is when they got Miles Sanders, I think, right? So Miles Sanders?
It was Darren Sproles.
Darren Sproles. Nice.
Oh god. All right. Miles Sanders was 2020. Just a spoiler. Okay. Their second leading rusher that year was Carson Wentz.
Laugh all you want, but I think they're pretty set now.
Oh my god. Hey, at least they were the dumbasses that traded a second-round pick for Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Did you see he participated in Indianapolis golf tournament? I was like, you get the fuck out of here.
Well, I guess somebody has to do stuff because Anthony Richardson's off doing rap songs apparently now. That's what he's trying to do.
It's just that fucking moron. Anyway, all right. What's next up?
So we're talking about some Philadelphia running backs and, Carson Wentz for one. Let's sort of get into some players here who you think will benefit. Like I said, I think this Raiders offense, will be a sort of there'll be some diamonds in the rough that you can grab from the Raiders offense that could really benefit your fantasy roster. So who do you think is one of those guys? Maybe a little bit, possibly you'll go with one of the more obvious picks here, but just who do you think stands to benefit with this sort of new look Raiders offense there as far as fantasy football is concerned?
Yeah, so spoiler alert, the most obvious pick is the player you pick, so I'm not going to spoil
we'll
that.
Get to that,
but yeah, we'll get to that. I was tempted to go with Geno Smith because I actually do think Geno Smith has some real fancy
He'll be
potential.
Intriguing. Yeah,
exactly. Intriguing is a very good word for him. But the player I'm actually like, you know what? I really like him as your second to last or your last round pick. And that's Jakobi Meyers.
Ooh, I like this one.
I think Jakobi Meyers has some real benefits. So let me explain why. He led all Raiders wide receivers last year. This is including Brock Bowers with 129 targets. And he turned that into 87 receptions for 1,027 yards. Now, granted, only 4 touchdowns. That's where his fantasy, production kind of fell off a little bit. But on top of that, Myers has received at least 106 targets in both of his seasons with the Raiders. So they love targeting him. And you and I both talked about this after the draft is why? And I know they drafted Jake Besh, but Besh is not like a stretch the field type of receiver. He is much more of a slot, and take it from me, I'm a TCU guy. I know how he plays. He's a much more of a slot type of receiver. So while Besh may vulture some touchdowns, I think Jakobi Meyers is going to be their deep threat, moving forward, at least for the next year. So I really think, and he is one of the veterans with 10, he is veteran is one. Sorry. All right. Sorry. He is one of 10 veterans.
Messing with your brain when you're doing all this
I was messing with my notes. This is my last note, and I messed with it, and this is what happens when you take notes at 9 p.m. He is one of 10 veterans. There we go. with 67 plus receptions and 800 plus receiving yards in each of the past 4 seasons. That's not just with the Raiders, by the way. That is just overall. So this dude can produce even with shaky quarterback play. And I'm honestly a pretty big believer in Geno Smith at this point. I think he is the definition of a very solid NFL quarterback. I'm not going to say he's like a top 10 quarterback, but he's definitely better than Derek Carr, or definitely better than, God, who were they throwing out last year?
Aiden O'Connell.
God damn. I am so sorry, Vegas fans. My Lord. And I thought Anthony Richardson was bad. But yeah, so he is definitely better than all that. So I actually think, like, Geno Smith is going to have a solid season, but I think Jakobi Meyers is a very sneaky, like, solid flex option for your fantasy team going forward.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing a lot of people failed to realize was that, he gets a lot of targets in this offense. Yeah, obviously Brock Bowers sort of stole the show last year with the performances that he was giving at the tight end position, especially as a rookie. But yeah, I think Myers is definitely going to be that steady veteran presence on the outside for this Raiders offense, especially as Besh gets acclimated to that offense too. He may not hit the ground running as far as, his emergence in this offense. But yeah, Bowers will hopefully take that next leap in his second year. But yeah, I think with the experience that he's had with his Raiders, as well as coming over from New England, being a reliable target there as well, I think he's a guy that Geno Smith, I think, will build some chemistry with earlier because they're both veteran guys that I think we should see some good production from him. So yeah, I think flex option is a very good assessment for Jakobi Meyers for sure in this offense. And so,
again, I will repeat that stat just one more time because obviously I stumbled over it. He is one of 10 receivers to have over 800 yards over the last 4 seasons. So exactly like what you said, like even in New England, he was killing it. He was producing. So he can produce no matter who the quarterback is. And now he finally actually has a solid quarterback. So I think it's a fascinating sleeper to kind of focus on, especially because it happens in every year where you're focusing on, one position or the other. And you're like, shit, I am so shallow on receivers. And that is a very, very interesting name that you can grab pretty late on.
You can easily get him in the double-digit rounds, and I think he could be a solid producer for you. Because you have to look at those New England years too, Tad, where it's like they're trotting out Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. I think that was after Cam Newton, but I think Cam Newton might have been during one of those years with.
He was during the Josh McDaniels years. We broke that down in our last episode.
Yeah, so it's so I mean, you got a little bit of that too, and then obviously you look at what the Raiders had in the last couple of years with Aiden O'Connell and all these guys. So it's just he's definitely dealt with a lot of bad hands when it comes to the quarterback position. They still able to find solid production there. So yeah, hopefully with a little bit more steady quarterback play with Geno Smith, a little bit more stability there, hopefully, I think we should see some good production from that offense and Jakobi Meyers in particular. I definitely like him as a double-digit pick for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, he's not like that sexy fancy name that a lot of people are going to go for. So I really think he's the perfect last 2 rounds type of pick. And just in case anyone from LAFB is listening to this, I am completely lying.
Oh gosh! All right, Dad,
this is why I hate doing this podcast because we just give away our draft strategy and it's just the worst.
All depends on where you get in your draft spot, right? That makes a big difference too.
Yeah, well, and you get to decide that. What is it going to be, another fucking marble race?
I still need to think about that. I'm running out of time. I think that's my 4th of July project. That's my.
I was about to say, speaking of 4th of July, it should be the hot dog contest.
No. It's gonna be something after that.
Oh, come on. All right, fine.
All right, Tad. So kind of like you talked about, I think we had to go with the low-hanging fruit with this one. This is low-hanging fruit. It's touching the ground. That's how low-hanging fruit this one is.
I mean, it's Ashton Jeanty.
It's Ashton Jeanty. I think that's a pretty clear winner with the situation. I already brought it up before. I mean, you brought up the stat, like I said, just sort of reiterating that 9 out of the 13 seasons that Pete Carroll was the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, they were top in rushing in the league. They definitely had solid run producers. You talked about Chris Carson and Kenneth Walker III, and of course, Marshawn Lynch. Ashton Jeanty fits that mold. He is that type of running back. So I think it's perfect what the Pete Carroll wants to do. Like you said, with the adaptation that, Chip Kelly is doing to his offense. Like you said, he had Quinshon Judkins last year. I think Ashton Jeanty plays into that type of mold
Henderson as well.
Exactly. So it's like, I think this is just a perfect match made in heaven. I think, like I said, that was like one of the worst kept secrets of the Raiders taking Ashton Jeanty at number 6 overall. Now
we said that after the Geno Smith trade. We were like, yeah, it's just,
it's 100% locked in now. I mean, the only thing that would happen is like, yeah, if somebody like, the Jaguars or somebody ahead of them traded up to take him before the Raiders go. Like, that was the only thing that was going to throw a wrench into the Raiders' plans. But yeah, if he was there at 6, the Raiders were going to take him, because you look at what happened. Like, I mean, you talked about it here. I'll just sort of emphasize this more. 6 out of the 9 seasons from 2012 to 2020, the Seahawks were ranked top 5 in both rushing attempts and rushing yards in the NFL. This includes 1 season leading the league in rushing attempts and 2 seasons leading the league in rushing yards. Like we talked about, trading for Geno Smith, I think just marked the fact that they wanted to go with the veteran quarterback. They'll figure out that quarterback position a little bit later down the road. Like you said, I think they want to make sure they can establish that RPO in the offense, just bring a little bit of just, stability to that offense first, and then throw in, a wild card later with the rookie quarterback.
And then start building up the project. Like,
exactly. Once you stabilize anything and you figured out what you want to do, then it's like, okay, now let's introduce some external factors like a rookie quarterback, like possibly, if Chip Kelly does well, if he moves on, then introducing a new offensive coordinator, all this stuff. Like, those are down the road plans, but just like, I think that makes sense why they trade for Geno Smith. They want to go with the run heavy offense. I mean, he was the focal point of the offense Tad at Boise State. Like, I remember before he had that breakout season.
He wasn't. No. He wasn't the focal point. He was the offense. Like, there was no other offense. Fuck Malachi Corley. There was no other offense.
Malachi Corley
isn't their quarterback?
Malachi Nelson, I think you mean, right?
Is Malachi Nelson?
Malachi Corley went to A, Western Kentucky, and B, he was drafted by the Jets, so he's not even in college anymore.
Shit! You're right. It's Malachi. All I knew is this Malachi something, and just my memory bank. Fuck me.
Oh my gosh! Because as soon as you said quarterback, I was like, hold on, you have the wrong complete.
All right. But bottom line being is, I don't know the quarterback's name. That offense clearly does not matter around that quarterback. I do know that running back's name, which is Ashton Jeanty. Did I do that right?
Yes,
thank God.
Right, actually. But Tad, you had to look at the season that he had. He was only player during the college football season last year to have over 30 rushing touchdowns and over 2,600 rushing yards last year. He was also one of only 2 players to have over 300 rushing attempts as well. I mean, just the long-term outlook for Jeanty, I think, may be in question because of the wear and tear that he had at Boise State. But in the interim, at least for the first couple of seasons, definitely in his rookie year, he is a surefire fantasy star in redraft leagues. And I think for sure he's a first-round pick in fantasy football leagues. Like, do you disagree with that?
Malachi Nelson wasn't even their starter.
He wasn't at Boise State, was he?
No, he was at Boise State.
Oh, he's at Boise State. Okay.
No, yeah. He just wasn't.
He just wasn't the starter.
Okay. Yeah. He did throw 1 pick though, so
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, right. Yes, no, I agree with you. I think he's going to be I feel like every year there's this rookie that goes in the late first round, and I think he's going to be that rookie this year. I would be shocked if he was like a typical ADP of a top 5 pick, but I think he is the perfect if you're in a redraft, 10-man league, which is standard for me at least. I think he's like the perfect draft pick at 7 or 8. Because you just know, again, like you and I both pointed out with all these stats and everything, he's gonna get the volume.
Yes,
and he's proven at Boise State, with Malachi Nelson apparently, that like he can handle the volume as well. So that's a big thing too. Now, long term, does he have like Zeke Elliott concerns where like he's only gonna be good for 3 or 4 years? I think that's a pretty valid concern.
Yeah. 100%.
We'll worry about that. But you know what? Fuck it. We'll worry about that when we get there. For now, I think, he is an A+ first round fantasy player. No question.
So let me ask you that, because you sort of said that, ADP of top 5 pick, you're sort of questioning that. So it's like, do you think he's worthy of a top 5 pick?
Man, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think any rookie is ever worthy of a top 5 pick, because it's if you're spending a top 5 pick, it's gotta be on a known prospect. You gotta know what you're getting. And so I think he could have the production to match a top 5 pick. So I'm not saying he can't, produce like a top 5 pick, but we just don't know. It's just too much unknown. So no, I'm always a huge proponent for going for a vet in the top 5. Honestly, in the entire first round. I'm not a fan of taking a rookie in the first round at all.
So you wouldn't even take him with the first round?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I might, depending on like how my draft, shakes out. If I lose the Marvel race again and I'm picking 9th and, there are no better running backs, sure, I might take him. But if it's between him or if it's between like him or Jonathan Taylor, I'm taking Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, here's an interesting question, and then we'll sort of close out the episode here. Would you rather take Ashton Jeanty or Christian McCaffrey?
McCaffrey.
Really?
Yep.
That's an interesting one.
Yep. Nope. Not that scared of the injury concerns. And plus he's got that receiving, threat. So no, McCaffrey plus a proven coach. It's, I know what that system can produce. Yeah, no, McCaffrey, 100%. Not even a question in my mind.
Wow. That's interesting.
Man, you are a 49er fan and you're down.
I know, but we've talked about this on a previous episode. I think he is the biggest question mark for me this season. It's like, I don't know what I can expect from him because it's like he had the injury last year. He played in 4 games. He didn't even look all that great in the 4 games that he played.
Yeah, because he was hurt for all of them.
Yeah, but just like, so now heading into this season, it's like people are saying he's healthy, but very late last season, before the season started, they said he was hurt too. So it's just like, I don't know what to expect. So yeah, for me, he's like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's the biggest boomer bust fantasy player for me this year, Christian McCaffrey. So it's like,
all right. So well, let me rebound the question then. So would you take McCaffrey or would you take Jeanty?
Oh, easily Jeanty. I'm on the other side of the point on that one. I take Jeanty.
Wow.
I'm also on the other side of you.
Some 49ers fan you are.
I'm on the other side of you with the other thing. I take Jeanty with a top 5 pick.
Really?
Now, obviously, if I'm 1 or 2, I may not take him 1 or 2. But if I'm at 4 or 5, I'm definitely entertaining the thought of taking Jeanty there.
Jeanty or I'm trying to think. Hold on, give me a second. Jeanty or I would say Joe Mixon, but they just signed Nick Chubb, so that's like, damn it.
Not happening.
Yeah, no. Shit. Okay, all right. This one's good. Jeanty or what's his name? Kid out of Oregon with Tampa Bay.
Oh, Bucky Irving?
Yeah,
Ashton Jeanty.
Really? Because I honestly think I would go Bucky Irving there.
That's fair. But no, I think I just, like you said, I know you said they signed Raheem Mostert, but it's like after they drafted Jeanty, I think Raheem Mostert is going to have so little production in this offense. Like, I mean, they'll use him as like a change of pace back, but I think his fantasy relevance is next to non-existent with the drafting of Ashton Jeanty. I think he's just going to get, at least 25 carries per game. Like, I can see that happening in this offense with Ashton Jeanty for sure. So yeah, like I said, maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic and I'm riding too high on this horse with Ashton Jeanty, but it's just like, that for me, like I said, if I was at the 4 or 5 spot right in the middle of the draft, I definitely, if not considering, I think I may turn in the card for Ashton Jeanty for sure.
Also, we absolutely need to make this episode where it's like this player or this player.
We can do that.
It's not a bad idea.
We still have a head coaching series to get to.
Oh, God damn it. There are more?
There's still a handful more. Yeah.
Damn it.
We're getting close to the end there. But yeah, you talked about a guy already, Eric Glenn. He's still on the docket there. Still got Ben Johnson to go. We got, I don't know how exciting it'll be, but Brian Schottenheimer.
Oh, so
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Do we have to?
We do have to.
Okay, here's the whole episode. It's Jerry Jones with his hand up his ass, working him like a puppet.
Whatever it is, we still got to talk about
it. Son of a motherfucker.
But yeah, still got a handful more of the head coaching series episodes left to go. In case you missed any of the previous episodes that we did Mike Vrabel already. We did Liam Cohen. Obviously, we just did Pete Carroll. We still got 4 coaches to go left in the series here. But make sure you follow us on our social media handles. Like Tad mentioned, it's like, we took a little bit of a break there. That is the best way. That's the best way to keep up with us as far as, what is happening with our podcast, whether episodes are dropping, just catching all previous episodes, staying up to date with everything that's happening with us. You got me on Twitter, I'm the Side 23. You got Tad794, got the show handle at the Decide Guys, and of course on Instagram at the Decide Guys as well. So make sure you follow us there, because as soon as the head coaching series is over, we're going to dive into our position rankings. So we're going to talk about, we started talking about at the end here, but it's like, Ashton Jeanty, where's he going to rank in my top 12 compared to Tad's top 12? It's
way too high, apparently.
Interesting. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, that's going to be very interesting. We're going to dive into all the positions there for sure. Obviously, we'll probably do like, this or that, with all this stuff, our boom players, our bust players, sleepers. I mean, just everything. We'll get into all of that as we lead up to the draft actually happening for you guys in August, and maybe a little bit beginning of September as well. But yeah, best way you can find out about all this, follow us on our social media handles. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, so you're always up to date with our podcast as well. And please, guys, make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFB Network, because without them, there'd be no us. You're getting a lot of great content from a lot of great content producers from them. We're there. They're covering the Rams and the Chargers as we lead up to training camp in July, as well as the preseason happening in August. Tad, next weekend is the 4th of July. Like, I mean, it's going to be here sooner than you think. So, I mean, they're giving you a lot of great coverage leading up to that with training camp battles and possible 53-man roster cut decisions and all of that. They're probably diving into the schedule a little bit as we get a little bit closer there. So they got you covered there at the pro level. And, of course, with the NFL season around the corner, 1 week before the NFL season starts, college football season starts. So they got
it does.
They got you covered with Trojans and Bruins coverage as well. So covering all 4 of the LA-based football teams as well. But Dad, it's not just football anymore. The NBA draft is happening tonight. The second round was tonight. Last night we had the first round. Cooper Flagg, worst kept secret in the world. He went to the Dallas Mavericks, number 1 overall.
Did you see him? Did you see him? Heat drafted?
No.
Future point guard, Illinois. I can't pronounce his name, but he's good.
No, of course. But yeah, so they got you covered as far as Clippers and Lakers draft coverage, as far as what players that they picked, what sort of trades that they make, and the offseason, because that's right around the corner as well. We already saw some big trades with, Desmond Bain going to Orlando Magic.
Go Frogs.
We got the trade of Kristaps Porzingis to the Atlanta Hawks. Kevin Durant trade to the Houston Rockets. You got Drew Holiday going to the Portland Trail Blazers. We've already got some action happening here.
I actually didn't see that one.
Yeah, Drew Holiday has gone to the Portland Trail Blazers. Anthony Simons went to the Celtics. So yeah, there's going to be some interesting things happening.
Whoa! And Simons is with the Celtics?
He is with the Celtics in that return trade. Yeah.
Fuck!
But yeah, guys, so they got a lot of action there happening with the Lakers and the Clippers. They got you covered there. And of course, the MLB, we're coming close to the All-Star break, so they got you covered with Dodgers and Angels coverage as well. So guys, all 3 of the big sports, they got you covered there at LAFB Network for sure on the website. But guys, to everybody who's already supporting our podcast by listening to us, by watching us, by interacting with us on social media, by dropping YouTube comments, by just doing anything and everything to support the podcast, we really cannot thank you enough.
And like Amir said, be sure to check out LAFBnetwork.com or wherever you find your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you can find your podcast, because not only can you find the Decide Guys football forum there, but you can also find LA Podfinancial, hosted by a very good friend of the show, Chauncey Talese, and we are about to have one hell of a month with Chauncey, because Amir, do you know what is coming up this month with movies?
Well, we got Superman on July 11th.
We got Superman.
And then we got Fantastic Four at the end of July. I can't remember what day it is, but yeah.
We got Jurassic Park.
All right. Yep. Jurassic Park.
It is going to be such a great month, and I cannot wait to hear Chauncey's reactions. I actually just watched, maybe illegally, but keep down low. I actually just watched 28 Years Later, and I cannot wait to hear Chauncey's reactions on that. So LA Podfinancial, great podcast. Be sure to check that out. Salute to Troy. If you are looking for the best USC info out there, especially as the season, as Amir pointed out, it's getting closer and closer. We're just about actually a month out from the season really starting. Be sure to check that out. It is hosted by, person, Alro. He's fine, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, check out Salute to Troy podcast. But anyway, as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please stay safe, everyone.